Welcome to the AirCon Vault. Here you can find the recordings of the live streams from Airwiggle's audio conference. These are made free thanks to our sponsors. A sound effect, Aftertouch Audio, Boom Library, FMOD, Game Audio Learning, Game SoundCon, Kilohertz, Rev Rooms, Soundcuts, Strata from Audiokinetic, and Airwiggles, the online home for audio people. We hope you enjoy the video.
Hello everyone and welcome to AirCon25. I hope that you're as excited as I am to kick off this year's conference. My name of course is Greg Lester, and with me today I have 2/3 of the incredible Noknok audio team, Martin Kvale and Oda Tilset. And in this session we'll actually be diving into the satisfying and really beautiful soundscape of Tiny Glade. Martin, Oda, I will hand over the proverbial microphone to you two so you can tell us a little bit more about yourselves and your background.
There you go, Oda.
Oh, yes. Hello, I'm Oda, and this is Martin. Yeah, we have a company called Noknok with we're a trio. So our last member is Ali Cedroni, and she's in Copenhagen, but I think she's like welding bikes together right now, probably.
Yeah. We do a lot of audio for indie games, mostly. We've been going for about 5 years, and we all do different things. But I think like Oda is a better composer than me. I end up doing more sound design because of that, and Ali is amazing at like hammering through voice editing and direction, just like a beast.
Yeah.
And also good at being active when we can be passive.
Yes.
Love that. Yeah, it's important to have a good team with some different disciplines, and that you can balance it all out.
For sure.
So for anyone who hasn't heard or played Tiny Glade, I'll give you all some context by playing a short clip just before we dive in. It's basically a small diorama builder where you have an incredible little tool set that you can essentially build cool houses, castles, all kinds of amazing stuff. Like it's incredible, and I'll show it to you because it'll make a lot more sense than me talking about it. So here it is. Please do let me know in the chat if you can hear the audio all right.
Cool.
Yay! I love it. It's so beautiful. I want to dive right in and ask you, like, at what point in the development process did you join as the audio team to start making sounds and music for this game?
I think it was summer 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
I think Anna had been Anna, the person who started it, had been doing it for about 1.5 years, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, in a free time.
Yeah, and Thomas, the other developer, was about to join on the project, and they were going to kind of start doing it seriously. So they were looking for someone who could do audio. So yeah, we got in touch through some nefarious incidents, and hit it off. We did some tests and agreed to work together.
That's awesome. And in terms of the audio direction for this game, there was an article that I read that you had like kind of a bunch of different ideas, and at one point even like the option to potentially have different audio treatments. how did you develop that, and what led you to basically what the sound is now in the game currently?
Yeah, I mean, specifically for sound design, we started out pretty early by kind of defining the style of things. Because in the beginning, I think Anna and Tom, they had an idea that they wanted it to be very kind of realistically, and I think I typically go for more ruttily. Ruttly, is that a word? But like click, 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 clicky, clacky. So we had the variations where we just kind of could jump around with the tool to kind of hear different, and they kind of all had their certain kind of vibes. But it's mostly that whole thing started just because Tom, who was just prototyping getting FMOD in, started making some wall sounds, which was literally wall. So we wanted to keep that, just kind of having to as a reference. No, but it was kind of trying to figure out. It was just there to kind of help us figure out and narrow down, variations of what we liked, and one was always going to be like the proper one, and at some point we just. The others exist somewhere, maybe in the game still, but they're mostly not taken into account now.
Awesome. And you did a whole bunch of recording, I believe, for this game. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's I would say like the game is a fine mix between things we've found in our grandmother's closet, including like tapping on it with fingers. Tom and Anna was also very kind to kind of go around and tippy-tappy on things in their apartments, because we kind of knew that we wanted it to be, it should sound quite realistic in a way, like it looks quite real and it should feel real, but as the diorama, we kind of also wanted to feel quite small. So tippy-tappy fingers could be a good replacement for like bigger versions of the same sound with hammers and these kind of things. So quite a lot of that is recorded. And some other things, but like when we need to rapid prototype, I do have some rock sounds, for instance, but I also source some rock sounds from libraries sometimes.
Also went into the forest outside Oslo here for 24 hours just to record at different times of day, so some of the sounds is from the local forest.
Yeah. And the sheeps are authentic. The sheeps are on near a cabin, a summer cabin in the Oslo fjord. So they're quite
love that. That's so cool. Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the tactile is really the word that comes to mind for me. So in terms of the audio direction, you said you did a lot of experimentation and recording and stuff like that. Was there, after a while, did you develop specific pillars, like, for example, tactile, satisfying, stuff like that, to then really solidify everything?
Yeah, I think that's kind of, we always kind of knew that we wanted to feel like you had something real in your hands. So a core pillar was like, it should feel grounded in reality. But obviously within that, there was also room for a lot of playfulness. Like it should sound delightful, I think. I think a lot of people that I've seen on the internet talk about it being quite ASMR, which is like a fun side effect of that maybe. But we wanted it to be, kind of like a little bit like popcorn. Every sound you hear is like, oh, I wanna do some more things to hear more sounds. So I think like that's like our core goals with the game. We wanted it to feel quite delightful and quite real, but still, a little bit smaller and more abstract than reality.
Were there any reference games, media, other films, or something like that you drew from, or
your own work?
Yeah, we part of why we got to talk to them was I worked on a game called Townscaper a little bit before. And I think that's how they found us, which is also like, I'm not sure that the genre has a name yet, but I think chill builders, like builders without any economy or stress. So that was the reference. I think otherwise, I can't remember really if there's been. We might have juggled and thrown around some videos of games, but I think basically we went out we didn't need too many like video references outside of the game, because the cool thing about the visuals is that they're so strong, you know, and there's so much juice and so much polish that it's a very kind of easy thing when the sound clicks and you kind of get it. It is very easy to recognize that point. So yeah, it's all kudos to Tom and Anna for making something easy to work with that sense.
Yeah, it's like every single tool that there is has such a great character to it as well, and that's of course also literally the name of this talk, but it really feels that way. And the cool thing as well is that everything interacts with each other. And just before we actually went live, you were of course saying that that is also really tricky, because the bigger it gets and the more things get added, the more you have to think, okay, so we're adding this new thing, but it needs to interact with this, that, and the other, and should we make new sounds or existing sounds? How did you balance that and plan for it?
I think the most challenging thing, both for Martin with the sound design and for me also with the music, is that since the scope of the game is fairly small, you can go really deep. And it's like how deep is okay, because you could just keep going, but then at some point it's just too much.
Yeah, and it becomes this weird complex, this kind of whack-a-mole between technical constraints, bloats, and the detail work. So for instance, we're working with cobblestones right now. So we're nearing kind of feeling the vibe for drawing cobblestones, and that kind of shows us like, oh, well, what about if you drag things over the cobblestones? Should that be like a different thing? Because we do have that on walls versus grass, and then it's kind of like becomes this thing like, oh, but then we kind of need cobblestones is quite small, like, so maybe that's a lot more importance to have the physicality of the object represented. You know, if there's like a little metal cauldron rattling against cobblestones versus like a wooden pail, those are those should sound very different, right? So, and then suddenly we're starting to look at like, oh no, the event is getting bloated. We have like way too many references and nested events in it. We need to rethink. But I mean, I think it sounds like we're kind of also just talking about game development, which, you know, if you're in a project a long time, it's so much iteration anyway. So, but it's enjoyable. I do like it. It's kind of, it feels like you're uncovering all these very fun challenges by delving this deep, as Oda was saying. So I like that a lot.
Yeah. Did you have any kind of like spreadsheets or something to track all the interactions? Like what has to...
We had
if
one.
you create a path in a wall, it creates a pathway, or through wood, it creates like a wooden pathway.
No,
we had the spreadsheets.
We did
at some point. I think Anna and me were working on it, but we stopped updating that.
Because I cannot remember there being a spreadsheet.
No, because I don't think it was supporting music, but it was just to keep tabs on all the different events.
Well, I did have one actually for music recording sessions to keep track of what I'd done, but that was just for myself, not for the game itself.
Yeah. No, there were a time where it was needed because Oda and Tom and Anna, they're quite good at communicating, versus I can be quite bad. So it's kind of good to have a reference of like, I tend to write a request and then I go back 5 minutes later and have to rewrite it because I'm like, oh wait, this doesn't actually make sense unless you've been in my head for the last hour. So I think it was really good to have during the time where we were adding the most things, and it was super useful.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that makes a lot of sense. It's just interesting because I feel like the game does a great job at kind of just dropping you in and letting you explore. It's very sandboxy, and then the more I'm so used to the complete tutorialization of everything nowadays, where it's like you're getting handheld and it's like, now you have to do this and here's your quest log and here's this. And so this was a really pleasant kind of exploratory experience where you just kind of go in and you're like, oh, I can do this, and oh, if I do that and this, then this new thing gets created and I can combine windows to make a big window and all of these wonderful things. And I discovered so many interesting and unique sounds through that as well. So that's why I kind of was asking this question, because there's so many different interesting combinations of stuff that are happening.
Yeah, it is, and it's only becoming more. But I mean, that's also kind of what the game is a lot about. It's you can see this also like a little bit like an alchemy engine. You know, like it's about seeing what two different things kind of result when you join them, right? You drag a path into a house and it adds a doorway.
Yeah.
And these kind of things are, I think they really help when you're breaking the game, when you're playing the game for the first time, because everything you do, the game is kind of helping you by showing you all these delightful little things you accidentally come over. So it's it is more accidental and exploratory, and you don't have any economy, which helps. You're like, oh, I can just do this unlimited.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. So we've got actually some questions already coming in, so I'm going to start asking some. In terms of audio sources, what's the ratio between the studio created sounds, Foley, etc., and field recordings?
Okay, I think for ambience, I think most of them are self-recorded. I would say that, because but for the Foley itself, I think I can kind of dive a little bit deeper and separate it into 3 chunks, because it is the things we have recorded, which
the tippy tappy.
Yeah, I'm not actually quite sure of the actual ratio, but let's just say it's we divide it in 3, and maybe it's a third, maybe, and it's like things we recorded themselves. It's a third, and I think a little bit more than a third, which is things that have been either recorded or found and it's been treated. Like, for instance, the brick sound is it's literally just like a few bricks but gone through a granulizer. And I think I'd say like a lot of the sounds have gone through like a treatment and processing to kind of fit a little bit better, and plus of course the post treatment in FMOD. And then there's the last bit, which is there's some sounds I think that are just like going straight in, but I think maybe that's a sixth maybe. I mostly try to adjust them. You need to kind of make them fit the game, to make them have the intention they need to have, if that makes sense. But it is invaluable when you're looking for the right vibe of, like, for instance, cobblestones, to have, here's 500 rock sounds. Let's look at that. And then we find the right rock sounds. And I'm describing what I'm doing today, basically. And then we kind of take those rock sounds and we figure out a way how to play them in a way that feels nice in the game. And if that is like through treatment and kind of bouncing versions and variations of it or not, or just putting them straight in, it depends a little bit on what sounds good. I think that's the final thing. Whatever sounds good and fun and keeps with the rest.
If it sounds good, it is good. And that kind of actually leads us into another question from Lewis, which is what kind of processing techniques, chains, and other things were you using for the main UI interactions, things like transient shapers, compressors, EQs, etc., or anything unexpected?
Oh, I don't think we use much compressors or transient shapers with UI. I think it's a lot of the UI sounds are kind of like...
Don't look at me, you made them.
Okay. I think they're just like a lot of weird little found sounds. Those are definitely like the grandmother's attic kind of thing, where we record small things and we combine them in a ways. I think there might be some base layers that are kind of made through the OP1, using realistic sounds and kind of... I have this thing that I learned ever since I worked on this game called Gunner, and it's kind of like you get a lot of things on the tracks there, and you kind of scrub back and forth, and you kind of randomize a little bit which tracks are active and are sounded, and because of that, you kind of get this very nice, often pleasant, quite complicated sounds that fit well for UI. So there might be some layers on that instead, but I think, like, if you hover over things, we wanted that to be tactile. So if you click something, that should be tactile. If you select a tool, it should be tactile. So we try to make the main kind of recognizable sounds. If you choose a fence, that is the sound of chopsticks, for instance, or something like that, tapping on the chest. So not too much treatment on the UI, except for like some selected kind of sound. Like, I know the tool change sound has like a boop, and I think that's from the OP1. I think it has like a drum. Like a tom, electronic tom sound, but mostly it's not too processed now.
Yeah, That's cool. And in terms of jumping into then FMOD, you were talking a little bit already about granulization. So Maxim asks, what is a middleware? Of course, we have FMOD in this case, and game engine combination. And have you used granulation, sorry, for creating sustained sounds?
The engine is just the game, basically.
Yeah, they're making their own engine with the game. I think they use Vulkan as like base layer.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're making their own engine basically, and it's also kind of how that game looks and feels quite unique is that everything is just made to be exactly what it is. Like they're not reusing any other systems that are more generic. It's very specialized, and I think that the
last section there is for you, I think.
But and asking for a friend. There's some granulation. Granulation. I do love that. I love the Ubik Grain Daddy, as it's popularly called, because it's quite simple and it just kind of gives me a lot of joy from hearing things. But I think like the issue that we have with that is that some sounds it works for, and some other sounds it kind of makes the loops that I make kind of feel like there's some small repetitions that is like almost echoey or repeating. And that's very based on what sounds that go through. Like I sometimes try it and we listen to it and it gets like, this is, I can hear the repetitiveness, and then it's not a good granulized sound. But yeah, there's some. We usually do try it at some point. If we look long enough for an audio sound, I will try to granulize it, because it's a very nice way to make loops, which are more cheap than using the scatter sound, which can make 1,000 sounds. But we do try to avoid both. So yeah. So I guess like yes, I have used granulization for some, but sparingly and with great care to avoid the typical artifacts that's associated with said plugin type.
Yeah, it's interesting as well, because like I saw there's one video I think where you dive a little bit into the FMOD session, and you have like a bunch of different parameters that control different things. So it seems like it's a super modular setup in this case. Can you talk a little bit more about like what the kind of parameters were that you were working with?
Yeah, and I think that's also worth to kind of direct if anyone wants to see some deep dives. I think they're all on the Steam page on blog posts. I think we don't have that many blog posts to look for the audio ones. And I think, speaking of kind of the modularity and in-depth things, I think it's good maybe to talk about the music system, which I don't understand. I literally look at it and I have no idea what's going on. And there's a lot of parameters, a lot of nested events maybe, or...
Not anymore, because I reworked the entire music system, because it was buggy because of FMOD internal bugs and not because of my own mistakes. So we had to fix things. But
how do you do it?
Well, we had a lot of talks in the beginning about what the music system should be before... Because like you have the day-night cycle, which we wanted to have reflected in the music, but kind of like they do in Animal Crossing, I guess. But we didn't want there to be like distinct themes per like hour or anything like that. Wanted it to be like a very gradual transition throughout the entire day-night cycle. So when composing, I was splitting it into 4 sections. So morning, day, night, evening, and night. And then after that, set up a system where the different instruments get faded in and out depending on what hour it is. And then also, depending on how much you're building, if you've not built a lot, the music is quite sparse. And then the more you build, the more details are in the music. And if you're actively building, some of the instruments will get faded out to make room for the sound design, to make sure the audioscape isn't too cluttered. And then if you stop building, then the instruments will gradually start fading in again.
And if you meant to make a pentagram, we paid in music of us singing barbershop quartet songs. Devil Whale. Oh, no, okay, sorry. that was
Perfect vibe.
But it's very cool with the music in that sense, because I like how I also use the music richness, which is kind of like the how much you built parameter for a bunch of things. We also use that a little bit for the ambience. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I hook into it because it's global.
Oh, yeah,
I don't have to ask your permission. But yeah, it's very intersected. It's quite interlocked with a lot of things. Some of the things are probably needlessly complicated. Some of the things are quite simple. Like I love the FMOD things that is sort of like the closed loop thing. You know, like you have the thing that you start drawing something, and then we can have a thing that if you draw this more than a second, it kind of auto modulates this down. If it's like also like an event that is like one-shotted but quickly after each other, then we just use a parameter with that. You know, like so just the parameter, the fact that the fires off makes the parameter go down in volume a little bit with it. And then and then whenever you stop doing these things, I love that it just resets.
Go back, yeah.
It's so clean, so nice. But yeah.
Yeah, I love that as well. And yeah, I think there was the reversing the actions as well, the different layers that you have in there and everything. It's so cool. Speaking a little bit more about the music, what was your approach to the score, Oda? You mentioned Animal Crossing as an inspiration.
Oh, yeah. In the beginning, we were trying to figure out, because we didn't really know exactly what different themes would have for the different glade types, right? Like now we have summer, flowery, autumn, olden glade, and winter. But to begin with, we just tried to figure out what the, I guess, personality of the game would be. So we made a mirror board with lots of different words and pictures. And then Tom and Anna would also put in like references to different types of music and games that they liked. And I would do the same. And I'd make a lot of different small sketches, and the ones that they liked would keep. But I think the kind of big turning point to figuring out the style was the announcement trailer, because that was like the music had to fit with the sound design in a very sparse way. I think several people have told me that the music kind of reminds them a bit of, well, yeah, Animal Crossing, but also Breath of the Wild. And I think
Peter and the Wolf.
Oh yeah, that too. And I think that I think the Breath of the Wild was probably one of those games that was in the reference list, but mostly because it has quite a lot of, it's kind of quite sparse. Like it's ambient, but not because of pads. And that was a very good cornerstone to, like, a pillar, I guess, for the music, because we wanted the sound design to be the main focus because of the building. And that ended up then being part of that trailer, and everything we did in that trailer ended up kind of being a source of inspiration for what to do next. And though that track didn't become a track in the game, a lot of the little melodies that are in there ended up turning into tracks.
I think it's also like worth saying that the first game we worked on was this Amazon Netflix games called Lucky Luna.
Oh,
and I also want to kind of say that during that time, Oda started getting into this kind of weird time signatures and melodies and like chord changes and scale changes.
Yeah.
And I see you also. I think you also kept on doing that with this game.
A lot.
Because
I wanted the flow of the music shouldn't be very, like, it should feel a bit alive, and nothing that is alive is perfectly like 120 BPM 4/4. So to make it flow a bit more, I would add an extra beat in this bar here, maybe add another bar just to make the distance between different sections of melodies be a bit different every time. And when I feel a bit sorry because I got my mom to play the flute, and she's never been in a recording session before in her life. And then it's like 5/4, then 7/4, then 3/8, and the music is very sparse. So keeping the steady beat the whole time is very difficult. But she did really well.
Trial by fire.
Yeah, and also I didn't mean to be mean to her, but I think some of the tracks had like, she was surprised when there was a track that had less than 4 sharps.
Which is so funny because when I think of the music, I kind of see this duck floating around, being like, burp, 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 burp. You know, it's just very very quirky and nice, and it seems simple, but it's so fun to see like the whole process of composing, which is just super complex, super deep, and then when it ends up feeling quite simple, which is I think is really cool.
That was what we wanted. But yeah, I think playing this soundtrack live at a concert would be a nightmare.
That does sound like a challenge. I'm interested as well. So you said your mother played the flute. So how much of the score was recorded? It seems like there's a lot of woodwinds and kind of harps, percussion, xylophones, things like that in there, which is really nice round tonality, super soft sounds. And by the way, I love the score. It doesn't get like tiring at all. Like it's because I find that with games sometimes, especially when there's a lot of music or stuff, it's like it can sometimes be like, okay, I've heard this now a lot, and this is just like, it's so meditative and nice, and it just puts you in a zen zone. It's like,
it's good to hear.
Beautiful. So
I
yeah,
was
like
worried that we didn't have enough tracks because there's only, well, now there's 5, but it like upon release
per biome.
4 tracks per biome, which is not a lot. But yeah, now I made new ones because I wanted to, so those will be in an update soon. But yeah, it's only flutes and trumpet that's recorded. The flute, there's in some of the tracks there's 2 different, like flute 1 and flute 2. And trumpet, I played the trumpet. So that was also fun because I used to play the trumpet for many years, and then because of work and stuff, didn't have time. So that was also a really nice thing. I wanted, just like the sound design is very like tappy, and I wanted that to be reflected in the music as well, to make it sound a bit, I guess, quirky, a bit like not professional in a way, because having amateurs playing results in a very different sound than professionals. My mom is really good for an amateur for sure, but it's not the same as a classically trained orchestral flutist, you know? And it's definitely the same for me as well, because hadn't been playing consistently for years and years, 10 years, I think. The rest of the instruments are actually just like different sample library things that I found. And for a lot of them, it's like different. For the violins, for example, there's 2 different violin instruments that I've layered because I wanted the kind of close mic'd, so you can hear like the movement of fingertips on the pizzicatos. And that was really nice in one instrument, but I still wanted the kind of warmth that you get from the orchestral, like more professionally recorded libraries. So I'd combine more like self-made libraries with the professionally made ones to make sure there was a bit more of a character, I guess, to everything.
I think if you would have told me that everything is recorded, I would have totally believed it, because it sounds so characterful. Cat in the Cat Lineker in the chat perfectly like summed it up and says, yeah, like the soundtrack has so much character and it feels like its own little entity. And just matches everything so well and glues it all together. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time finding the right instruments. Oh, Martin found a fun thing. If anyone can guess what this is called, I will be impressed.
So this is like something we found in Japan. And I think you played something like, was it It's like a mouth harp, but just a string one.
Oh.
I don't know.
That's so cool.
I don't know what you got that now, but yeah, it's fun.
Next update, maybe. No. Just want to show. It's cool.
The Oriental update.
Yeah.
That's awesome. We've got another couple of audience questions. I'll bring in one from Erik, which is why was FMOD chosen for the audio implementation instead of, for example, Wwise?
Oh, that's what we're used to.
Yeah.
The most
it's
simple.
And we originally got used to it because we initially were both sitting with Max, and I think when we were first looking at what to try, I think Wwise just had a wineskin wrapper. Might just still be in a wineskin wrapper. I'm not sure, but that's the main reason. After some time, you just know it well enough, and
saves time.
Yeah,
makes a lot of sense. And then another question from Fish, which is how much flexibility and autonomy over the sound design and composition did you have?
A lot of flexibility and autonomy, but they were very consistent and diligent with their feedback. So nothing would have sounded the way it does now if it weren't for all the feedback that we kept getting. And I think probably one of the reasons why the soundtrack ended up sounding like it feels okay that it keeps repeating is that Tom is extremely sensitive to repetition. So I basically learned how to make music for someone who feels uncomfortable when the music is repetitive. And in the beginning, that was hard to work with, but now I know how to make music for Tiny Glade very specifically. So
I think it's I think they have had a lot of forming for the sound as well, because it's the way they work in me is kind of, I go in, I do something spontaneous, I let it sit and I play with it over some time. But they're very good at like, no, but we deal with it now. We work with it now. We iterate on it now. And then we kind of meet in the middle where we're actually both focused on the thing together. So usually, we make some variations, we make some tests, we try it in the game, we hook up sounds, and then we look at it together. And yeah, they're great at feedback. They're very meticulous, which I'm not always. So I think it's kind of like, I worked on a game called Manifold Garden a bunch of years ago, and I definitely think like Manifold Garden and Tiny Glade are the two games I've done where the game sounds really, really good thanks to the other developers being very interested and very active in the sound design process, which, it's really, really fun when it ends up like greater than the sum of its parts. And I feel like that's very true for Tiny Glade. It wouldn't have sounded as good without those two, and Oda, of course.
Yeah, every project brings its unique lessons as well. It's funny you mentioned that, like the repetition and to learn to deal with that and to cope. I think one of the big parts of feedback is always just almost the act of simply revisiting your work again in itself. I mean, obviously, the type of feedback is also really useful, but like just going back again and just being like, all right, I'm going to try to make this a little bit better, and then until you get there.
I think it's, when it comes to kind of feedback and working on projects, I think like I'm not sure like what the spread of people who are in this chat is, but for us, we work on numerous projects. We come in to our projects quite often. A lot of our work is learning to anticipate and communicate and kind of figure out how to fit in with them. Like, does the game director want us to just black box whatever we do and just deliver something? Should we work just kind of a bit sporadically when things are getting ready? Should we come in like batches where it's super focused? Does the programmer want to work with audio or not? That is a huge difference, like, and because we can allocate for that. If they don't really want to work too much with us, you just like, here's the things, just get them in. We do the rest in FMOD. Otherwise, it's like, here we can have fun.
Yeah.
Like, but it's so much to do with that work to anticipate and figure out like, who are you working with? And the same people can be different the project later, right? Because everyone is going through life, I guess. So yeah,
definitely. One of the things that struck me was also all the tiny little details, and I just wanted to mention this. One of the things that stands us was the lights coming on as it gets dark.
Yeah.
That was wonderful. Did you those little moments that you crafted there, how did those come to be? Was it kind of like, oh, we've got the lights coming on, we want to make a sound for that, or was that almost audio driven? How did that process work?
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember the sound either. I think it might have been like one of those kind of long light bulbs that had a bit more musicality to it, maybe, that I recorded. I don't remember. I remember being very captivated by the lights popping off, turning on. And I'm not quite sure whichever came first, but it was definitely like something that I think, the end result everyone was like very happy about, because it feels a bit magical the first time you have it. It's kind of like The Boy and the Heron, like the latest Ghibli movie. They did a similar thing when this hallway lights up into the house, and the sound is just so discreet and so lovely, and I was just getting goosebumps from watching that. And I think that's essentially kind of a little bit of what people could have the first time they see this as well. Hopefully, that would be amazing, actually. But it's pleasant, right? Like, it's delightful. It's a little ambient thing.
Yeah, we did kind of a similar thing. There's just one thing in the music that is similar, and that is at sunset. There is the what's it called in English? Morning mood. Yeah, by Edward Grieg, who's a Norwegian composer, and I made a little dawn jingle based on the melody from that, which plays and is suited for each track depending on which glade you're in and everything.
Yeah, gotta represent Norway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Lewis has a question which might be tricky to answer, but how many audio assets are there in total?
We can check.
We can check, yeah. We're also doing a little bit of cleanup, so can we see how many there are? Is there like
we will find out.
Select everything and then try dragging it.
Yeah. No, that's scary.
No. Oh,
okay,
that's really
we don't know, but
it's in Finder. You can check in Finder.
Oh, okay, yeah. Are you folks okay with us just like checking in Finder? Work.
I'm curious.
I think here assets.
Assets.
It's at least
887.
I think it's around 1,200 maybe, because we have
Something
like variations. That. Yeah. There's definitely like 1,000, 1,200, 300. Yeah, you have a lot. I think it's 1,300 to 400.
Even just the music. Some of the tracks have like 100 almost files. So
yeah, and then a lot. And the naming is not great. It's like Metal Cute, Oda 13, Wow single, Candy, Colm, and in Norwegian, and Gek. Yeah, Gek. I don't know. That's probably UI, because it sounds
Rat.
Anyways, yeah. So I hope that was informative.
Definitely, that's a huge amount. It's really impressive. Speaking of like, I guess, amount and challenges and stuff like that, what was the most challenging part of working on this project?
I think like other projects in life, like we I think basically all of us, both me and Oda, have through the last year before release, or like we had various things, like suddenly you were working pretty hard on Viewfinder or Snufkin, and that took up, it just needed to be done.
Yeah,
like suddenly you get like a call where someone says, oh, by the way, could you work a bit extra because we're all shipping to the same release date or something. And at the same time, I was also having to do a lot of other projects now and then. So I think kind of making sure that it had the attention and love we really wanted to give it.
Yeah, I was feeling guilty a lot until towards the end, because I wanted to work on it, but I didn't have the time for it. But I think also in the end, having a lot of time to just let ideas simmer was kind of helpful. But yeah, I wish I'd had more time to work consistently on the project, for sure.
But that's why we kind of tag teamed, because I worked quite consistently with it in the beginning, and then when you kind of took over and did your main music work, I jumped off and did other things. So yeah, I think basically life and things were the hardest.
I guess when it comes to like the actual work, it was getting the music system to work, and then it ended up being too complicated, and we like kind of uprooted it a bit and had to code some of the functions I'd made because the system in FMOD was too complicated, and I ended up having not bugs because the music system was not correct in the setup, but FMOD was getting confused by its own things.
Can we say the nicest thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would want to say it's working with Tom and Anna. Like it's gonna feel like they invited us into this very little, delicate, beautiful world of Tiny Glade, and it's been lovely to just be a part of that. Really, like I think every time I open up our Slack, I just kind of look forward to saying hi.
Me too.
So that's been amazing.
Yeah, and all the things I learned from working with them, like everything from communicating with people who aren't used to talking about music, and then seeing them getting used to it and being really good, but also the confusions of people talking about a clarinet when there is no clarinet and stuff like that. But yeah, also like the feedback on, especially I think the repetition thing, that's been really just nice to learn more about how to avoid music getting grinding over time, because that's something I will definitely be bringing with me for other things later as well. So
yeah, so much of the projects, of my favorite projects that I've worked on, is a huge amount is just dependent on like who are the people that I'm working with, and they often make the projects really, really special. And
the things you learn from them.
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like, speaking of favorite things, what is each of your favorite sound and favorite piece of music?
Oh,
like in the Tiny Glade, or just like
in Tiny Glade?
Okay, right. Yeah, I guess I can start. Like, I'm very fond of like I saw you name dropping Defense in your video, and I was like, yes, because I like Defense. Every time I hear it, I wonder, like, is it a bit loud? Is it a bit too dry? You know, is it too much in people's faces? But it also always kind of makes me happy to hear. So I think that made me quite happy. Yeah, I think I also like the hover sounds for the tools. I have no idea what that sound is anymore. Like I think it's something part of like a quick iteration for a lot of viewer things, but it has like this weird sort of texture to it that I can't quite place. I know I could probably look it up and see what it is, but it's also quite nice to have this little delightful secrets in a way, even from me. And because I work quite experimentally, like that is, I'm fortunate enough that there's a bunch of things I don't remember or know quite much about the game. So when there's been questions like how much is this ratio, I'm like, I don't know. I can look it up, but
I think, can I also say a sound? I don't know this. I really like the ducks when you pet them. Yeah, it's a very simple sound, I know, but it always makes me really happy. I mean, the sheep are nice as well, but I think the ducks.
Well, poor sheep. They used to be the MVP, but now it's ducks. I think like basically it's kind of like just the mood of. It's not really about any specific tune with Oda. I will then say a cool thing about the music. So my favorite thing about her is just like this thing that all the sounds all the music is quite unique, and whenever I hear music I haven't heard in a while, I like, oh, this is cool, but I can still just say dum dup 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 ba da ba dup bup bup bup. And you know, everyone who's played Tiny Glade will be like, I feel like everyone will just kind of connect that to that game. It's just kind of like this drip 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 sound, which is very I really think this is fun. So I would say all the music, but the vibe of that music, which can be summarized in a silly little ditty.
I definitely had that in my head for like many days after in the best way possible. It was like accompanying me while I was like walking around feeling like a little sheep. That's great.
I think
so Don asks, how do you keep getting to work on such cool, wholesome games?
Oh, I think it's a snowballing effect, probably.
Yeah, I hope so.
Hope so.
Oh yeah, but I think it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, Townscaper, which led to Tiny Glade. I got Townscaper. We were working on Townscaper actually. Like you did
I
music,
made like
one track, 10
30
seconds. Yeah.
of music.
But that came because we worked with Bad North, with Oscar and Richard. Oscar was the guy who made Townscaper, and then I got in touch with them because I worked with the publisher Raw Fury, which I was very fortunate that they would poke me about, and they also poked us about Stonekeeper. I think it's just nice to be in a position where people are like what you do enough that they want to recommend it to others. I think, yeah, I think that's kind of, if you do good work and it gets noticed. But I
also
think
you're really good at he has a really, really good intuition about people who make cool things. It's like with Tiny Glade, I think you saw Anna followed you on Twitter, and then you went and looked at their game or her profile and was like, this is the thing. Maybe they're looking for, they're also following these like other things and liked this post. Maybe they're looking for sound. And then you poked her and she was like, oh, yes, well, oh my God. So I think you can thank yourself a bit as well and not just like be humble.
Humble.
Yeah.
Oh, but I think it's a mix of many things, right? Like I think it's good to be a bit proactive, but it helps also if people know what you've done. It's helped that people that you worked with are happy with what you did. Just and it helps if you, I don't know. You said it actually, Greg, that it's very, when you work with people you like, that helps a lot. And I think in general, our goal is to, we do kind of work with people we enjoy working with things that are fun. And I think we're of course in a privileged position where we kind of can be approached by people like that, which is feels very amazing to be in. But yeah, I don't think that's came for free originally. Like it's been a lot of work and some burnouts on the way to get there. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely is not an easy thing to build up a reputation and a network and kind of like to catch these opportunities and everything. It's funny as well that you mentioned with the Twitter, because I remember seeing like initial prototypes and following Anastasia way like a couple years ago, and I just was thinking like, wow, whoever gets to work on this game, it's this is such a cool thing to work on.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you two have done the most incredible job. Like, it's so good, and it just is delightful, as you've been saying. So yeah, it's amazing.
So yeah,
let's see if we have another couple of questions. We have another one from Jonas as well.
We can do a couple of short questions.
How do you make your sounds so ploppy, Martin? What is your secret? Tell us.
I learned all I know. I learned all my secrets from Jonas Turner, so it's funny that he would ask the question. Jonas, who is asking the question, is amazing at doing really in-your-face sound design, and he's always been really good at having this knack, I think. And I think basically when I started out, I learned a lot from Jonas on basically like doing what you're good at, and I could never do what Jonas is doing. But I knew him and a guy called Niklas Ström, who's worked on Hold Down, which is one of my favorite sounding games, and Rymdkapsel, which is Swedish, and a few others. And he has such a weird, specific, strange style. Like, it sounds just extremely like him. And I think it's just knowing those two people early in my career helped me a lot, at least with daring to be weird, I guess, which because I'm weird. So I think it's just ploppy. It's just in my brain. That's what it makes sounds in. It makes sounds in plops. So, yeah. So hi,
I
Jonas.
love that word as well. Like, it just describes exactly what it is. Ploppy is the perfect word for ploppy, right?
On the motivating. Yeah, we have enough time for one more or two questions, I think, if we do like quick fire.
Dan asks, regarding the sound design, how many sounds did you create per event to avoid repetition and any audio fatigue?
It depends. As I said, like we had a very good Tom, who was really sensitive to repetitions. He was like the litmus test. Basically, if his mind went off when you wanted more. But it's basically sometimes a few sounds, if they're unspecific, if they're just like low thuds that are quite anonymous, then you don't notice this as much. But obviously, if you have 5 sounds that you loop between and one of them has a little in it special, then that will stick out. So I think it depends so much on like how complex the sound is, and sometimes it's easier just to repeat the same sound, because then your brain doesn't focus on it. It just kind of acknowledges it for a repeating sound. So yeah, it depends. Yeah. Next question.
Nice.
We can do this.
Daniel asks, did you take any inspiration from Erik Satie while composing?
No.
Next question. We don't talk about the Satie here. Okay, technically, which
Philippe asks, technically, which tools, techniques were used inside or outside of middleware to achieve such organic building sound variations without sounding repetitive?
Oda went into it very briefly about the music, but you can say the same thing about audio, that we have so many systems, right? So just with the wall drawing sound, which is one of the first one we did, it has speed, like at the speed of edits. It has like how long you've been dragging it around. It has like how it turns, how it goes up and down, how tall it is.
I've never seen events in FMOD with so many parameters before.
Yeah, but we try to have fewer because they get laggy. But essentially, it's a lot of that. It's a lot of, and we also use layers. And like I kind of find that if you do like a few layers or 2 or 3 layers, then the brain doesn't really pick up that easily on repetition. And I think Ben from who used to work at EA Dice, he told me a great thing that's cool about like when you start a sound, if you start it many times, like by having a bunch of sound and changing like how long into the sound file they start, that's a really kind of subtle way of avoiding the sound of repetition, because it's like microseconds, but not milliseconds, but it has a lot to say to us accepting them or not. Which is like, because you get quite sensitive to pitch variations and volume variations, which is what you did for a lot of years. So having it also like start a little bit differently in the file is actually quite nice.
Yeah, love that. Okay, we've got 2 more and then we are done. So actually that kind of works for the next one. Maxim asks, pivoting from rattly sounds, I hear how you made it a bit more washed rather than present and in your face. What were the main techniques to smooth out the sound and put it in the world so cohesively?
So for the sound design, I think at the end of it, when Oda was doing a lot of work, she helped out by listening to a bunch of things and using the native distance plugin to just kind of, if you're zooming a little bit out, we remove some of the highs and we remove some of the lows, like just gently. So it feels attenuated. We also have a reverb, which I'm unsure like how much we actually use, but to kind of place it in. I think the thing that it should feel. It's the weird thing about the mini diorama again, right? Because it's realistic. So it should feel like it's real, but it's also quite tiny, but it's also like at a distance. So it's kind of like it's a balance, right? And we're just kind of leaning into this whole thing that when your ear buys it, it's true. And sometimes that's to deal with like how wide the pan sound is, because sometimes it needs to be narrower, sometimes it needs to be not narrow, because if it's placed there, suddenly it feels weird if it's just there, right?
Yeah.
But it should be like there. So it's just a lot of tweaking, and whenever Anna and Tom or me or Oda are kind of reacting to something, we deal with it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then the last question, which is not really related to the game, but maybe interesting, is have you met by chance any neurodivergents in your game audio journey along the way?
We
have friends.
Yeah, we have friends.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in this industry are quite neurospicy, as many people like to say. Cool. Well, if there's any closing words from you two, any last secrets or whatever.
It's been very fun to work on, and I think we've said a lot of things that sounds kind of cute, but that's also kind of what we feel has been nice in this game, that we can just be quite adorable and use the tippy tappy sounds of my grandmother's chessboard and these kind of things, like
recording my mom in the closet and stuff like that, because we didn't have a studio space, and like making a soundtrack without a budget was actually in a way really.
We had a budget.
I mean, not a specific budget, but
you got paid.
I got paid, yeah, but we didn't have a budget for the audio for the game. So, like, the fact that there were no limitations on that made it also kind of like more liberating to work on, I guess, because it was more up to us how much time we spent on it. We didn't have to think about other people's money being spent and our time in that regard. But then that also made it a bit more difficult because we had to use money that we earned from other projects to also cover our time working on Tiny Glade. But yeah.
Anyways, it was a fun experience. We love working on it still. We feel very happy to be a part of it, and it's cool that you wanted to talk to us about the game. So thank you so much for
having us.
Yeah.
Thank you both for sharing so much wonderful information. The game is incredible, and I really recommend everyone to go check it out. There's also some more behind the scenes stuff on the Steam page, which again, I highly recommend checking. And thank you all for being awesome in the chat and for asking great questions. And we have another session in, I believe, half an hour. So tune into that. And thank you, Martin. Thank you, Oda. Have a wonderful rest of your day. And if you catch any talks, enjoy AirCon. And I will see everyone in the next one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Bye.